Good evening, all. I'm Jordan, and Joe has forgotten to unmute, or there's some weird technical issue going on with Joe on Joe's end, but that's okay.
No, do you
I'm
know what? It
joined-
was perfect.
I'm joined by the apprentice, it seems. Say hello, apprentice.
Hello, my name is Tech Boomer, and I apologise.
I never know when I'm sitting there how long to wait and leave it before saying something, because I'm always in the mind of maybe it's my internet. And then I err on the side of caution and think, no, maybe it's the apprentice. I don't know.
Wow. I don't have to come here to be insulted, I can just stay at home and do this.
Yeah, and just call you on the landline. They go, no, do it here, it's cheaper.
Anyway, good evening. Good evening, everyone. So lovely to have you with us. Happy Friday. Let's say a few quick hellos before we start, shall we?
Go for it.
So, early birds get the mentions. We've got Xanth. English Will is here. Good evening. We have got Reboot Needed. Axiom Curb Community. Good evening to you. Well, that's it. The early birds are not many. But that's it. No one else gets a mention. So I hope you feel special.
Tough on them.
Exactly. Right. So let's crack on. Lots to go through this evening. What have we got first, Jordan?
1 minute, I've broken something. There we go. Okay, it's all fixed now. You was just about to start hearing yourself back, which would have been a very, very bad time indeed.
Mind-numbing, yes.
Anyway, the first thing we're covering is the good old let's lay out tomorrow's story today sort of thing. Factory farms of disease. How industrial chicken production is breeding the next pandemic.
Oh, a new pandemic. Shocker.
Who would have thought? Who would possibly have thought that this would come around eventually? Apparently, one day last year, I do not remember this at all. I don't know if anyone else has any recollection of this. 101,000 chickens started to collapse and die. Eventually, they went on to put basically 1 million of them down.
I'm sorry, what? 101? That's a very specific number.
101,000 is a little specific, I do agree.
I did not know anything about this, and we have been keeping an eye on this stuff.
Exactly. I don't remember this at all. Not even a little bit. So maybe I missed it. I have no idea. It's unlikely that we would miss it and the Ice Age Farmer would miss it.
Exactly. Does anyone in the chat recall this story last year? When did it happen? Last December.
Last December.
Is anyone in the chat aware of this story before we've mentioned it this evening?
I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, so I'm going to carry on. Apparently, at the same time, 150 of these farm workers were tested. 5 women and 2 men were found to have the disease, albeit mildly. It was the first time this variant was known to jump from birds to humans. And for some reason, they've got a picture of a weird cat thing.
Yeah, that's the weirdest. Is that just a cat among the bodies of something else?
I'm not entirely sure, honestly. It is weird.
So now Axiom says it's a regular thing for winter when you get rid of them. I heard hundreds of thousands had been killed. Fair enough.
I don't remember this at all. Maybe it's just because it's common, it doesn't make the news. I have no idea. I genuinely do not remember this one little bit. But anyway, you continue reading this article, and it is a typical Guardian article. It's incredibly long. Doesn't really have terribly much of interest in it, but eventually it gets down to the real crux of the issue. Governments and the $150 billion a year poultry and livestock industries emphasize how intensive farming is generally extremely safe and now essential for providing fast-growing populations with protein. But scientific evidence shows that stressful, crowded conditions drive the emergence and spread of many infectious diseases and act as an epidemiological bridge between wildlife and human infections. This here is the furthering of the notion that animals are dirty, that food is dirty, and that we need to have safe food. such as the lab-grown meats.
I would argue as well that this is a very insulting paragraph. Intensive farming is generally extremely safe.
An abhorrent practice, it must be said.
Generally extremely safe. They're very careful with their wording. But scientific evidence shows that stressful crowded conditions drive the emergence and spread of many infectious diseases. Now, I don't know about infectious diseases. You still have to impart the disease. There needs to be a ground zero case, does there not? Diseases don't just appear. They are spread from an infectious disease by default means that you've caught the infection from something else. So it's been spread. The stressful crowded conditions certainly do drive the animals to be unhappy and stressed. And when you are stressed, your immune system suffers, which is the point of the last 2 years. And, the lockdowns were incredibly stressful, and we know the effect that's had on people. So we know the effect that this has on animals. But to say that stress causes infectious diseases, come on. And by the way, aren't viruses infectious, not diseases? Or am I confused with that?
I thought diseases were as well. Even so, that's getting into the weeds of stuff I think about. The other part of this, which I thought was rather interesting, wild birds are routinely blamed by governments and industry for spreading avian flu along migratory routes. But evidence is mounting that intensive farms are potential mixing pots for new deadly viruses. There's then a quote from this Rob Wallace geezer who basically goes on to say that you can't continuously blame migrating birds. That's bloody stupid. Considering, when was it? About 5 or 6 months ago now, they decided, no, wait, it must be before that. It must be last year, actually, around about this time, oddly enough. They decided that we had to keep all our chickens indoors.
Ooh, yes.
It just stood out to me that in the same article, this is a really strange article because it feels like they're kind of shotgunning it a little bit. Like the first bit, they're obviously going on about, well, we can all work out really what they're saying about how things jump from animals to humans. We can work that out. Then they go on to blame, what was it? There we are. Then they're going out to say food is dirty. Can't have actual food. We now need lab-grown meat because that's much safer for us. Then they're kind of disproving their own actions, or at least bringing into question actions that they've taken in the past.
Well, they keep trying to make this connection between animals and disease, don't they? Like animals carry that animals are in fact dirty, that the food that comes from them is dirty. If only we could believe them, because guess what? We've been farming for hundreds and hundreds and potentially thousands of years. They're trying to demonize something that is the foundation of all of our societies. They do not want people controlling their own food intake, controlling their own livestock, having food choices. And that's what this is really about. And trying to, it's the way that, some groups are demonized. They're demonizing this entire industry so that and they're trying to create germaphobes. So we're like, yeah, we'll take the lab grown stuff, right? Because there's no viruses on that. There's no diseases on that. There's no germs on that. So, we'll be perfectly fine. It's all very clinical and, clean. It's upending our entire historical way of life. It's very interesting that the message seems in this particular article almost desperate, I would say. They push so hard to make points, and you just think, why are you trying so hard?
Because they're social engineers, and they have to socially engineer you into opinions that they hold, and they want you to hold. Anyway, last little bit of this. If anyone's interested in bird flu and bird flu related things, there is a book. And oddly enough, this article, it mentioned it. So I thought, there you go, I'll throw that in there as well. It is Bird Flu, a Virus of Our Own Hatching.
Clever.
It is a rather lovely title, isn't it? But anyway, back on to the social engineers. One of the social engineers, they've decided to show their dirty, grubby little face.
And which one would that be? Here we go.
There we go. Eventually it'll get there. It's because I went through and I pre-highlighted it and I can't copy and paste it as I normally do. Normally it's much smoother.
Right. I see.
There you go.
Before you start here, just a quick reminder.
Yes.
The media is the virus. Thank you. Carry on.
But not only is the media the virus, but the media is the social engineers. There is a really weird thing. If anybody goes on to inews.co.uk, in Chrome, I should say, or Chrome or Brave, if you go up to the top on the address bar, it now says this site has been blocked from using motion sensors.
What?
What the hell motion sensor is a news website using? I have never seen this before.
That is actually, okay, so I read about this back in the 60s. I didn't read about it in the 60s. Just to clarify, this went on in the 60s. They used to build in, they used to do these tests with motion sensors. They'd show you a video of various things, the various actions going on, and they'd be able to detect what your eye is focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they do some kind of subliminal advertising tool.
That could very well be the case.
It's creepy as all hell, though.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop the link to that in chat. If anybody wants to have a look at it, yeah, they can see for themselves what I mean. It's just on the address bar next to the like you've blocked location and all of that sort of jazz. Anyway, the government's old tired COVID messaging won't convince the public to follow Plan B. Isn't it amazing how in the space of about 3 weeks we've gone from no Plan B to we've now got a Plan B to the government haven't spoken about a Plan B to the media's openly calling for there to be Plan B?
I sense a U-turn in the words.
No, the U-turn's coming up in a moment. Don't worry about it. This is written by Stuart Mills. I should have looked up who Stuart Mills is. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scroll down to the first paragraph of any particular importance. There it is. Joe, could you read that out for me while I look into this gentleman?
I can.
Thank you very
So
much.
the article says, firstly, it needs to think about reference points. A reference point is a mental baseline which people compare information to. Reference points are how most people understand data, and strategic reference points can be key to motivating behaviour. Yesterday, the Health Secretary warned infections may reach 100,000 per day. This messaging is good. Good. Yes, it's not good. This messaging is good. 100,000 is a number we intuitively think of as large. But this number will be more effective if it's compared to the previous peak infection rate of 50,000 a day. Without a reference point, people will fill in the blanks. Now, this is interesting because they have changed our reference point. Back in January, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Our baseline reference point there was no restrictions. After the 2 weeks to flatten the curve and after the first lockdown occurred, our baseline reference point became, it's only temporary and there'll be no further restrictions. We weren't even talking about the freedom we previously had. We'd moved on. Then when we got past that, what happened was the baseline moved again. And the baseline moved again to say that we were going to extend the lockdowns. Now we weren't even talking about the lockdowns not being necessary. Now we were talking about it's just a couple of weeks, it's just a couple of months. So they did move our baseline. They moved our reference point. All the time this was going on, we should have been saying no. Instead, we were like, well, it's only for this long, or it's only for that matter, or it's only for this matter. And they kept moving us along.
I'm trying to remember if this was mentioned in the Mindspace document or the other one that they did, the East.
I don't recall whether that there or not. I mean, we went through the...
I vaguely remember it was in one of them. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a big focus for them, but it was certainly something they mentioned.
It's just very interesting, though, that this moving reference point, you see it in everything they do. Everything they do. Every time they move us further along the path. And how quickly we forget where the path began. That's another reason why we built the timeline. It's another reason why we desperately need your guys' help to fill in the blanks on the timeline, please. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. We obviously wish we'd done this 2 years ago, but we didn't. So we're going to need help. So again, if anyone can please come forward with articles, headlines, dates, legislation, and the date, that would be fantastic. You can drop it into our Telegram group, and then we will put it up on the timeline. Thank you.
The other thing that's really interesting about this article is it's effectively like a weird coaching report. This is the sort of thing you would expect as an internal document as opposed to somebody just openly stating in the media.
Yeah, they're publicly coaching the government what to do to manipulate us. They're not even hiding anymore.
Exactly. It's a really weird thing to write. It's just so strange. It goes on to say different comparisons will produce different responses, and if the government wants to get this pandemic under control, they should not allow people to fill in the blanks but take charge of the messages by setting up reference points in their messaging.
It's interesting as well here. Take charge of the message.
There's a lot going on in this sentence. Both take charge of the message and if they should not allow people to come to their own conclusions.
Do not make your own decisions, people. Do not make your own decisions. Listen to the government. They love you. They only want what's best for you.
And this is what they say in public. Like, imagine what the social engineers say in private. And there is no other word for this. I use the word social engineer for all politicians and people in the media. But this Stuart Mills geezer, let's scroll up, there we go. There he is. This man is a social engineer. It's what he does. It's like, and now he's just openly stating it in an article in a national newspaper.
I'm not going to lie, he looks like Antifa.
He does look a little bit young. But then again, we've said that before about the BITS team. I don't know if this person is anything directly to do with the BITS team. He is a behavioural economist. He's a fellow at the London School of Economics, and he deals with personalised behaviour science and the digital economy.
So basically, behaviour modification.
Basically, yes.
I love
what he does.
This line. I love this line that you brought up. Again, this is this person's words. This is not someone quoting a document. It's his words. Secondly, the government needs to make the pandemic seem exceptional again. Make it seem exceptional. It's all theatre. Make it seem. Make it seem important. Make it seem that it's everywhere. Make it seem that it's harmful, that it's scary, that it's frightening.
Make people believe you more. That's basically what he's saying. He's standing there, he's stamping his foot saying, make them believe you more.
People aren't afraid enough. Make them afraid again. And by the way, that's almost a direct quote from another nudge unit personnel.
That is basically what they say within Mindspace. They do go on about fear and how it can be used.
Making us afraid. Making us afraid to get results. They openly admit this.
Anyway, it goes on to say, secondly, the government needs to make the pandemic seem exceptional again. To convince people to adopt any changes, the government should tell people this in press conferences, messaging, and on advertising campaigns. Perhaps even go so far as to invoke a sense of competition.
Competition. So they want us to feel guilty or ashamed that other countries are jabbing more people, doing it faster, more efficiently, charging more, shorter queues. I mean, if you're British, then yes, the queue issue is definitely competition. We're quite proud of our queues. But yes.
This one here I thought was really interesting going back to the Mindspace thing once again, because that's their founding document, that's what they quite like. Even though they claim that East was an improvement, I think the thing they're actually paying much more attention to is Mindspace. This here kind of falls under that salient thing.
Yes.
It's making you take pride in something else. It's what we saw right at the beginning of this, and what I can't remember which person it was from the Bits team, but it was definitely one of them saying we need to make a competition out of the vaccination creation between
Yes.
us and the Europeans, and that's what they've been doing all the way along. That's why they're so intent on pushing the vaccination rates, saying how high they are and that we should take pride in these things.
Well, if you remember when AstraZeneca first came out, they were talking about interviews with old people. This was in the gutter press, saying that a lot of old people were like, "No, I don't want that one. I want the English one."
Mm-hmm.
So competition is it. These people are paid to study us, to study how our minds work, to study our characteristics, what makes us tick, and they are paid to find ways to manipulate it. They knew that people would prefer the English one because I don't actually know why anymore, but apparently something being English has a cachet to it, has class to it, has quality to it. I don't know. English Will has asked us to give a shout out to Sir Francis. Sir Francis,
Make yourself known.
Yes, we like you. Come back. We do actually like you, and we hope you're well.
Very much so.
Yeah, please get in touch if there's something going on, obviously privately. Otherwise, we hope to see you on the stream very, very soon. There you go, English Will. Thank you. We care about each other. That's what community does. So thank you very much for that.
Very much so. It goes on to say, we need to have a clear national objective again. The lockdowns of spring and autumn 2020 were underscored by a national message. Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. Beans means Heinz, as we've dubbed it.
Yeah.
The national vaccination campaign also began with a very clear objective: get vaccinated. But to be fair, pretty decent advertising right there. Just straight to the point.
What are they implying the objective is now then, if not get vaccinated?
Well, this is what he's going on to say. But what is the national objective now? While government experts and the general public know so much more about this virus, it is remarkably unclear what our national efforts are ultimately trying to achieve. I don't know about yours, lad, Mr. Mills. My objectives are freedom. I have a strange feeling my objectives do not align with yours.
There are some people who have legitimate concerns, don't really want to take stuff that other people are having problems with, honestly. And your objective seems to be threats and coercion. Personally, there you go.
The what's the word I'm looking for here? The sense of irony is not lost in this individual, or it is lost, I should say. That is to say nothing of what the right objective is, nor do I wish to encourage simplistic thinking about a complex public health challenge. Because yes, that's all we're capable of. We're capable of simplistic thinking. They, the big brains with their degrees, they're the people who are capable of proper thinking. They're the ones who should be allowed to dictate what happens.
Here's a question. If the government is doing what Sage advise, who elected Sage? Just saying.
No, Sage are not a private company. Don't be silly. That's the Bits team. They're a private company. That's silly of me. But yeah, I just found this article quite revealing. It's once again, it is the social engineering in broad daylight. It's fascinating. Where was the other thing? It was here, wasn't it? It was the human behaviour. They have their own tab. This is how out in the open it is on inews.co.uk. They have their own tab of social engineers. This is where they gather. This is where they share their information between each other. How to persuade people to live more sustainably, according to behavioural science.
Yeah, well, their idea of sustainability and ours is completely different, aren't they? I mean, wasn't there some outrage headline a few days ago giving children a hypothetical situation and teaching them cannibalism as a solution to food shortages?
I just
Truly
saw
amazing.
Michael's comment.
Yes, he should, Michael. Well said. I like this one below that. Domestic abuse spiked during Euros tournament with one centre seeing 400 extra cases. During the tournament. That's truly amazing. But if all the lads are out watching football, who's abusing their spouses? If that's what they're trying to imply.
I don't know what they're implying.
And this one,
Anyway.
if we are to learn to live with COVID, the way we hear about daily cases needs to change. Why do you need to propagandise this at all? How about just tell us the truth?
Oh, it's got very angry, Boris, though. Look, very stern, Boris. Oh,
That's because we're not doing what you want, Boris.
Oh.
Damn it. Damn you people with the ability to make life decisions for yourself.
You know it's serious when Boris has combed his barnet.
Well, that's true. Yeah, the mad professor look has gone away.
It's now only serious, Boris. That's who we're in for today.
Boris the buffoon, another piece of theatre.
Talking of buffoons, there is another buffoon, a completely irrelevant buffoon I forgot existed. This man is affectionately known by myself as Wurzel Gummidge. Hope you can see why. Didn't admit you will.
Oh my God, he looks like Harry Enfield.
A little, but you give it a moment and you'll understand why I say Wurzel Gummidge. You'll understand perfectly. Measures are needed now. Ed Davey calls for more restrictions amid rising COVID cases. Couldn't really care less about this story. This story is a complete and utter irrelevance. It was.
Can we just explain for our international audience who he is and who he represents?
He is a forgotten man who leads a forgotten party.
A party called the Liberal Democrats, who are definitely liberal but not democratic. Not that any of that matters because government is illegitimate.
But then they're not even liberal in our sense of the word. They're liberal in the Americanized sense of the word, where they're just crazy, screaming leftists. There's nothing liberal about them.
Like, they're so tolerant, except when they don't want to be. They're hypocrites. They are. Oh, there was such a good time the last elections when the leader of the Liberal Democrats,
I forgot about that.
Joe Swallix or whatever her name is.
Swinson.
There you go. Couldn't even remember her name. She's so completely irrelevant. Very annoying, lefty, kind of feminist type person.
Convinced she was going to become PM.
Told everyone she'd been. Oh, hello. Told everyone. John just knocking off a few tunes there in case anyone was bored. Did anyone fall asleep? Wake up.
Why did it sound?
That was a test to see if you're paying attention.
It sounded like the sort of music they'd have in it's like a program where it guess whose house this is, you know? Like, whose house is it anyway? Behind the keyhole, I expect the geezer out with the MasterChef guy, whatever the heck his name was.
I don't know who that is.
The American. He does the sauces.
Watch television. Oh, Lloyd Grossman. The one who sounds like Stephen Molyneux.
Thank you. No, not Stephen Molyneux.
They sound the same. They've got this weird sort of Anglo-American accent where they switch between them randomly. It's Lloyd Grossman's accent was it's horrible. That's not to cast aspersions on his sources. I don't have them, so they may be good, they may be rubbish. Who knows?
Anyway,
but that was so good.
This article was posted today, kind of, at. You know, it's a really important article when they posted at midnight. That's like that gives you an indication of how important this man is.
Yeah, this is someone being forced to work from home who didn't get their article in on time, and they're like, "Oh damn! I'll quickly send it before I go to bed."
Quick, I'll put it in now. They won't notice.
No one pays attention anyway, right?
Exactly. It's only
Everyone
the
hates us, so what does it matter? Yes, we do. Anyway, carry on.
This was today, the 22nd. Meanwhile, last month, the Lib Dems called to scrap COVID laws in pitch for Tory voters.
Hang on a minute. Are you suggesting that they just did the opposite thing to the Tories in order to grab the electorate? In order to swindle votes?
There's so much to say on this, but now you see why I call him Wurzel Gummidge. Look at him.
Cup of tea, Aunt Sally, is all I can think.
It shows you what a game it is. A month ago they were saying, oh no, we need to get rid of all these things. Now they said, oh no, we need them back.
Michael says, are we the bad guys? Are they the good guys? Are we the bad guys now? I want to know what it is they're cheering. Oh, by-election victory. You got absolutely raised in the last election. Nobody cares.
And the one
You're
before.
basically the Greens, and the Greens aren't even green. And all the companies that are pushing this green message are the biggest companies engaging in all the things that they claim they're fighting against. They make money from destroying everything, and then they just donate to the Greens. It's truly amazing. Hypocrites, come forward, show yourselves.
He will call for the coronavirus to be repealed and reinstate Lib Dem opposition to vaccine passports. Apparently, it didn't last very long. This way.
These people are amazing. I just wonder what they have to celebrate, honestly, because nobody cares.
Nothing at all. Just a waste of time, waste of space, waste of everything. Wait, that's what they are. They're a waste of air.
Communist jokes aren't funny unless everyone gets them. Oh, we've missed your jokes, Johnny, not Pearl. I like the fact that even though we're talking about serious stuff, we can still have a laugh because it's all a big joke. It's all just theatre.
But when it comes to that sort of thing, it's so blatant. It's so obvious. Everybody can see straight through it. It doesn't take much to see through it. It just comes down to the social engineers once again. They say what they want to say when they think it's going to make the biggest impact for them.
Well, it's all theatre, isn't it? I'm still utterly unconvinced that your ballot goes anywhere after you post it. There's probably like a ballot thing at the Royal Mail depot, and it just goes in there and it gets sent to some incinerator somewhere. That's for postal votes, of course. Everything else,
I don't know what you mean. Everything is fully above board. Don't question.
I think that voting is literally a way of surveying the country, trying to find the mood of the nation. But when you've got a system that, well, first of all, not only works, it was never designed to work for us, where you're voting for the least worst option. I've always said this, even when I still believe that government actually did something. The least worst option, imagine that. And that's everywhere. That's every country. Things are so bad, people are voting for the least worst option. And their votes don't even count anyway. Truly pathetic, really. Anyway, what's the next article, Jordan?
That was it for the articles.
Oh, no.
Where was I going? I was going somewhere, and then you went on a rant. I'm trying to remember. Give me a moment. I'm wheeling it back in. Oh. Yes, this is the important... Things like that. That is the importance of the timeline. Because a month ago, we posted... Well, not a month ago, but, a couple of days ago, I posted that article saying that they were against the COVID laws. And now today, I've had to post an update saying that they're now for it.
Yeah.
It's this constant game of trying to pin them down because they do it deliberately. They do it to muddy the waters, to make things confusing. And the timeline lays everything out. It is then perfectly clear what the agenda is because you can see it. It's nice and easy.
Exactly. The constant panics and bad news is something we struggle to cope with. And then, and then they have to U-turn on certain things in the hope of confusing us. It's all designed to drive us to the point where we just lose interest in making decisions because we don't know whether we're coming or going. It's really interesting, though. We've said this before. The timeline is supremely important because even as we discuss things when we're preparing for a stream, we've noticed that there are things we've forgotten, things that happened really not so long ago. And when Jordan first brought this up with Ed Davey, and he said, and a month ago he was talking about this. These are the kind of things we forget. We're bombarded with information and new problems constantly, day in, day out. It's a hell of a lot to take in, and we're on overload right now. And I think they genuinely believe, and there is some evidence to support this, that we have very short memories because the overload of information means we don't retain this information long term. We don't have time to digest one bit of information before we hit with the next one. And it's deliberate. That's why the timeline is important. And that's why we need your help to build it. Because we're going to have to build it back up over the last 2 years and fill in all the gaps. We desperately do need your help. If you have anything, if you've even come across a video that goes through the timeline, that would help us as a guide, because then we could go and find the articles and get the dates and everything else. So anything at all would be really helpful. Thank you in advance. Again, you can jump on our Telegram and share it there. You can post it up on the Discord, just at myself or Jordan or Andrew or Philomena, anyone who's involved, so we can get this on the timeline. Thank you so much. Okay, so you'll notice from the title there's a few things that we were going to cover tonight. The next one is we want to talk about, I kind of hate this word prepping because it really doesn't do justice to what's involved. It seems like a very trite word, and it's such an important subject. But preparing for emergencies or preparing for the unexpected, maybe at this point. Anyway, so we wanted to talk to you about how prepared we all are. And in order to do this, we have compiled a little quiz. So we were wondering if everyone wants to take part in it. It's only a few questions, just for fun at the moment, to see how prepared we are and to see where those gaps are. So if everyone is ready, we're going to start the quiz. Hope you're all ready. So just some basic questions. Jordan, do you want to read them or would you like me to?
Oh, you can read them. And then
Okay.
I'll provide witty commentary.
Well, okay, let's see how this goes. Oh, Xantha's got buffering. Maybe refresh before we start. We'll give you a couple of moments.
Rub it.
Jordan's answer to everything is rub it.
Exactly, rub it. It's just refreshing is basically rubbing. What does the winner get?
The winner gets to not starve and they get to survive what's coming. That's what they get. It's a win-win deal here. Okay, Xanth, let us know if you're back and sorted.
No, everyone's got buffering. Oh no. This is it. This is what happens when you start talking about real things.
This is them, isn't it? This is them.
This
like,
is.
I'm surprised we haven't been struck by lightning.
This is BT getting onto you. Or Virgin, whoever you're with.
I'm not with BT.
I can only get BT. I'm only able to get BT and TalkTalk. I used to be with Virgin, and Virgin no longer do this area. That was an interesting conversation because this was years and years and years ago. When my dad phoned up, they said no, we don't do this area, and we've never done this area. So my dad put the question to them: if you've never done this area and I've been paying you, can I have the money back?
Yeah.
Then magically they said, "Oh no, we used to do this area. We just don't do it anymore. Sorry about that." This was years ago. Bloody hell. That was Yeah, sorry, no, carry on.
Right, so this is not a name and shame game, okay? You don't have to answer in the chat. We hope you do, though. The point is to get you to see what you haven't done yet and what you need to do. It's also for those who are about to start. It's just a little guide. It's just to focus on your sort of baseline preparing. So hopefully everyone takes part. We hope you do. Again, this is not about shaming. This is about reminding people of the importance of it. So question 1, if everyone is ready, in the event of a power cut, do you have alternative means of providing heat and light? And in the interest of full disclosure, I do not have alternative means of providing heat. This is something I need to work on. I do,
Well, you don't
however,
have a candle?
Heat. Does that really provide... it's alleged to provide some heat, but it wouldn't exactly warm my house up, would it? I mean, I've got an electric blanket, but if the power goes, that's pointless.
Well, do you have a hot water bottle?
I do not. That's something I was actually going to say I've got. Yes, candles. Candles are obviously very good for light. They're not brilliant, but they are good enough. English will. Look, blankets. Now, I have got extra blankets. I've got a few throws and fleeces. See, that's what we're talking about, Neil. I have a generator. You're so very lucky, Neil. And the ideal would be for all of us to have this. We're not all in a position to have this. So we want people to start thinking about what they can have in place. But yes, blankets, additional blankets, but having things like throws and extra things you can have. Make sure you've got some, decent slippers for when it gets cold. All of these things are really important. As for lights, a torch or candles, anything at all, really, that operates off batteries.
I'm really glad to see everyone has got some sort of light thing. Some sort of light or candle. Everyone has said yes to that. Heat,
Good.
no, fair enough. But I'm very, very pleased about that. Colin has said generators need petrol, and they definitely do. Long term, that is a problem. But
Let me pop that up.
if you've got a jerry can, a little bit of fuel, it will at least get you through a couple of days if you're sparing with it. It's not ideal, obviously, but such is life. If you flick it on for like an hour or so to do whatever you need to do, if you've got a small electric heater.
Exactly. And this brings us on to the second question, which is quite closely related. Would you have the means to cook food without gas or electric? So how would you cook food, especially if you lose these things in the colder season?
This is how I've never really understood. For some reason, people don't keep... Either they don't keep their charcoal from the summer, from barbecues, or they don't stock up. This is the time of year, I've noticed, not so much now, but like a couple of weeks ago, the garages and what have you were selling it. And they were selling it very cheap. What the heck is happening here? What is going on?
This is your second wake-up call. Thank you for using our service. What is going on?
I don't know. It won't leave me alone.
This is professional television, people. I want to bring up a few comments related to this. So let's see who's ahead of the game, because again, I do have a barbecue and I do have coal that I save from the summer. And as Jordan correctly said, at the end of the summer, all this stuff is sold cheap to move it out of stores because they don't want to stock it. They'd rather sell it and charge you all again next year.
Yeah.
So if you have a barbecue, or even a gas barbecue, if you save some gas, perfect. There's no reason why you can't cook food outside and then bring it into the home to eat it. So that's absolutely fine. Anyway, let's go through. So yes, Neil said he had a generator.
Oh, fair enough. I was just coming up to these.
My stepdad's not mean says, I have light and fuel for cooking. Good for you. It doesn't matter what that fuel is, by the way. It's your personal choice. As long as you have the ability to make hot food. That's the point. Back to Colin's comment, generators need petrol. Yes, they do. Ian says, heat in the house, no. Burner in the back garden. There you go. So you can cook.
Yep, that's good.
Adam. 2,000 watt inverter and a diesel car, lol. The Adam's pretty sorted with that. Made in Cornwall says matches. You could make a fire with matches. I'm not sure that you could cook anything more than, I don't know, a piece of toast, maybe. Live
Big mash for a
free.
piece of toast. I was thinking you could like warm an olive or something.
I was being kind. I have a wooden fuel plant for 2 winters, says Live Free. That's the way to do it. Well done for thinking ahead.
Good stuff.
Philomena says, I'm sorry, it takes a while to load after I click it. Jumpers, candles, torch, Christmas lights that use batteries. That's a really good idea, one I didn't think of. Well done.
No.
Yes, even Christmas lights will give you light.
For Christmas lights.
I don't need an excuse to have those on all year round. Well done, Philomena. Good girl. Barn Door says the moon. Well, yes, but that's not going to light the inside of your home necessarily, is it? Here we go. Here's a bit more of a sensible one. A reboot needed. I've got a wind-up torch as well. Wind-up torches and radios is such a good idea.
Yes.
If you have the money to invest in them. A good thick pair of socks. Yes, you know, when we're talking about staying warm, we're not just talking about external heat sources. You can make sure that you are warmer by just putting on extra layers. And that this is the kind of information that's given to pensioners every year.
Mm-hmm.
It would probably do us all a bit of good to start turning down the thermostat and getting used to colder temperatures. Because the reality is we do not know what's coming, but rolling blackouts could certainly be in our future. Hasdak says, I have many car batteries. Well, they're expensive to save up. Well done. And 2 inverters for the freezers and light. I have a small gas heater. So
Good
you're
stuff.
sorted there. Will-Free Gamer says, if you have a car, you can spend the night in there if you have extra fuel. You could. I don't know how much fuel you would get through just leaving it parked up. Quite a bit. But in an emergency, yes. Any port in a storm. Zant says, get a siphon, then you've got 75 litres available in your car. Reboot says, I'll eat a tin of cold beans. You can still look, food is fuel. It doesn't have to be hot food, but obviously, warm food in cold weather is going to heat you up a lot quicker, warm you up. Camping stove, says my stepdad's not mean, and cans of gas. Well done. Jonathan, hairy white dog to keep me warm. There you go. You're sorted. One Easy Money has a rocket stove. I keep hearing this name. I don't really know what a rocket stove is compared to others.
We've spoken about it before.
Yes, but I can't remember. Sorry.
It's the tiny little thing.
Does it look like a rocket, perchance?
It screams like one.
It screams.
I'm not entirely sure why they're called rocket stoves, but there you are. That's how they look.
Oh yes.
Thing.
Yep. Fair enough.
There you go.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. Okay, back to the answers.
But look, the long and the short is everybody's in the same boat. We've all done quite well on this one. Surprisingly. Yes. What is happening with my phone? Go away. Do you know what? I'm turning this off until I work out what the hell is happening.
I'd appreciate that. Or put it on silent, perchance.
It is on silent. That's what I can't work out.
Is this an alarm going off? Do you remember when this was happening to me? And it was an alarm, and if I liked the music, and they thought I was playing the music. I was not playing the music.
Mine's just playing that weird Lloyd Grossman noise.
Right, well, while Jordan's fixing his phone, let's get on to question 3.
Question 2, wasn't it?
No,
No, sorry, my bad.
Do you have, or plan to acquire, however that may be, water filters to ensure you have safe, clean water stored for drinking, cooking, and bathing? Where do we stand on water?
I have a water butt for what that counts for.
I think it counts for a fair amount.
I think that's pretty damn good, personally.
I mean, I'm less precious about what's in the water I bathe in than the water I drink, for sure. And if it's a case of, some water or no water, then I'll take some. But storing up water might be a good idea because we do tend to cook with water quite a bit. Mm-hmm. If you're going to heat up something like, pasta, then, you're going to need water. So if you don't have a filter, there are plenty of DIY videos on various platforms that people make their own. There you go. Neil has a distiller. English Will stocks water. Very good. Again, this is not something you must have. But the water itself is a must have. It doesn't matter whether or not you can filter it. Better to have it than to not have it at all. But it would be something I would say would be on the basic fundamentals of preparing for an emergency, especially if you have pets. Pets need to drink as well.
I've just posted a link to a really, really good video.
Fantastic.
It is how to make a water filter.
Brilliant. There you go.
A very good video, very in depth, and it's all around extremely good. This geezer does a number of videos that are very, very good. I would highly recommend him.
So where did I get to? So Neil says I have a distiller. Liffrey has a well. Well, you've outdone us all there, Liffrey. Colin has a big Berkey. Now, I keep hearing about these Berkey filters, and I know so many people who've got them, and I want one. Well done, you. Yes. And didn't Andrew say he had one, or he's getting one?
He wants one, I think.
Don't we all? Wilfrey Gamer says, I don't have emergency water purification. I have extra drinking water, though. As I said, only port in a storm. I'd rather we have this sort of fluoridated graphene water than no water, but ideally I'd rather no one was drinking that rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
And Will says, you can use a little bleach to purify water in an emergency. Yes, it's like a drop, isn't it? A drop of bleach.
It's a really, really tiny amount.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
And when you think about what's in your food, it probably won't do you any harm at all. You're probably already immune to it. So it might even give you a good clear out. Okay, so that's water. So question 4, have you been storing food and other items for an emergency? It doesn't matter what they are, but we hope everyone has started to have this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
even if it's at the moment, even if it's just little bits like extra pasta.
Yeah.
I don't know, like extra rice, extra beans. I'm a big fan of beans.
We know.
I think. Look, I'm just saying, you got this wonderful dried little thing. It sits in its bag. It doesn't get in the way. Things don't want to eat it. It's great. And then when you want to eat it, you just soak it overnight, and all is good.
In water. That's a little segue back to the water, because I've got a couple of comments I want to quickly cover. Before we move on to the next question that I just asked. Jonathan says, yes, and I'm making a water filtration system out of big blue barrels. Jonathan, as always, if you can film that or take pictures and share it. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as I am, where we don't have an enormous budget. And while we would love to make these things or have these things, we may be forced to make them. So, yes, if you can share that, we'd very much appreciate it. A Reboot Needed is asking, what is a Berkey? Do you want to bring that up on the background very quickly,
can
Jordan?
Indeed. Find one.
So I believe this is a charcoal-based water filter, correct?
No. This here is a like a solid mesh filter.
Is it not charcoal that purifies, though? Or am I confusing that with something else?
There are other charcoal ones, yes, but the Berkey filters are... They're just big metal drums, basically, and they have stuff inside them.
Would that be charcoal?
No.
Damn it.
There is no charcoal
I'm so sold on the charcoal thing. I'm pretty sure.
Now, if these turn out to be charcoal things, I'm actually not going to be happy.
What is the thing in the Berkey filter that filters the water? Please be charcoal.
I don't know. I'm not a bloody Berkey engineer, am I? If I was, I'd set up a competitor to Berkey and I'd call it something reasonable. But anyway, there you are. That's the general sort of size of them. They're quite good, apparently. I've no idea. I've never used one. Never heard of one until recently.
How small
they're
they
the little
are.
Things they go in.
I'd actually forgotten how small these were. Look how little space it's taking up.
You can get big ones.
I know, but I meant the fact that they're such a great design that anyone can find space for one, even the smaller ones.
There you go. That's like a decent representation of the size, I think.
So there you go. That is a Berkey Reboot Needed. Hope that helps. And you've spelt it correctly if you want to do a further search by yourself. Right, moving on then. So Maiden Cornwall says, food stored, good for you.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
My stepdad's not mean says yes. Liffrey says yes. beans equals free gases made in Cornwall.
That's what I laughed at.
Well, they'll keep you warm, won't they? Colin, you're putting us all to shame here. Colin has dehydrated food and a vacuum sealer. We've been looking into these vacuum sealers, and they do look really good.
The vacuum sealer just makes so much sense, because at the moment you can use them for things like if you bought chicken breasts, for example, you can shove them in your little vacuum bag, you can suck the air out, you can stack them away.
Yes.
And they don't take up anywhere near as much room. But then obviously you can also use them for dried things, for example, beans.
Yeah.
You can put them in your little sack, suck the air out, and then they're definitely going to remain perfectly okay for an extremely long while.
And when you store food, of course, it's the air that you trap in a container that causes the problems, that causes the food to break down. So it's a really good idea. Again, we did do a little bit of research on these about a month ago. They're not actually that expensive, but again, I'm not going to assume anyone's budget. But obviously, you get what you pay for. The more you spend, the better quality it will be. This might not be an option for everyone, but it's a really good option if you're into this. They just look really amazing. Wilfrey Gamer says, I have lots of protein powder. I can survive for months, lol. Good for you. We may all come and pay you a visit. We don't know yet. Neil Christie says, I'm incredibly fat. Bit random, but thank you for sharing, Neil.
Well, it's 3 months of food, isn't it?
Well, that's true. Yeah, but you're not supposed to eat it all at once. That's the key. Reboot Needed says, I got beans, rice, pasta, tuna, spam. Well done.
There we go.
This is the long life stuff. This is really the stuff that we're leaning towards. Anything that's going to last. Hopefully long after this is a problem.
Well, this is the sort of thing, you buy it now. You don't eat it now. But if you don't need it, it's not really that big of an issue. Things like tinned tomatoes, for example, they're going to last a very, very long while. 2 or 3 years' time, you may need them. Or in 2 or 3 years' time, you may have a huge stock of other things, and then you can start cycling through them.
And, if we come out of the other end with this, with communities where we're growing food and sharing the spoils and taking care of one another, it may be that we can have some kind of food drive for people who are less fortunate. I mean, none of this food will go to waste. It won't run out of date before we have an opportunity to use it. I will say, though, on that note, this is not the time to experiment. If you've got a bit of a boring diet like I have, this is no time to experiment. Please stick to things you know you will eat, because in an emergency, that's all you're going to have to turn to. Ian Marr says, I'm in the process of filling my freezer with frozen meat. When it is full, I will start rotating new in, old out. That's the way to do it. Well done. Hasdak has a suggestion here. He says there is a book called Food for Free by Richard Mabey. Jordan, do you want to make a note of that, please? In fact, Hasdak, would you be a darling, please, and just drop that link or just drop that message into our Telegram? Because I can't copy it, and I know Jordan had problems last time on the stream. If I click on your link, it just highlights on the screen. I can't actually copy and paste it. Thank you. Or if someone else can, if you're not on Telegram. So back to Will. I'm going to skip through some of these soon. Protein powder and water with a little sugar will keep you alive. You may get abs too. Ooh, abs. I remember abs. I'd like those again. Jonathan says, we're making an inventory of everyone's stock. 20 people. In your community, Jonathan. So you know exactly what you've got. One Easy Money says, freeze-dried food, MTE, dehydrated food, I think you mean. Canned food. Although, correct me if that's wrong. Hasdak says, carrots and beans all frozen, still got potatoes growing. Wow. That's amazing. You must be at the end of the season. But that's fantastic. Keep using them. The whole point of tinned food is that you basically try and grow as much as you can through the months that you can and harvest them as you need to or as you are forced to, weather depending. And then you eat everything else during the winter when you can't grow. If you're lucky enough to have a greenhouse or somewhere heated or somewhere covered that you can keep growing food throughout winter, then well done you. But this is to make sure we can survive through the colder months when we can't grow things ourselves. Andrew, I knew Andrew had been storing food. Well done, Andrew. 3 months worth of certain items such as corned beef, tuna, mackerel, baked beans, mixed beans, rice, gherkins, etc. Anything
You
in a
certainly got
tin or
enough
a jar.
gherkins.
Oh, yes. English wills, you can get canned potatoes, or tinned potatoes, we call them, but it comes in a can, so technically, yes, it would be canned potatoes. An emergency generator if you have a freezer full of food. This is the problem. English homes don't really make way for much of this, things that require space. So yes, if the power goes, most freezers, luckily, will preserve your food for, I think, a good 12 hours if you keep the door closed.
No. It's more than that. It's at
24?
least 24 hours.
But it will start defrosting, and it will start at the door area. It will start front to back. So just bear that in mind. I mean, this is what neighbourhoods and family and community is for. If your freezer just packed up, and I'm not talking about like a national power cut here or a local one even, ask your neighbours to store your food. This is why we need good relations with our neighbours. Okay, I'm trying to catch up now because we've got a few more questions we'd like to get through. Wolfie's building a smoker. That's a really good way to preserve food, and Jordan loves this idea, don't you?
Yeah, I've wanted to build one of those for a long while.
If you're building it from scratch, Wolfie, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Pictures.
Please film it or take photographs and a breakdown of how you did it. That could be one of our cottage industry overviews. We'd be very, very grateful for your input. So thank you, if you can do that. Zant says 3 weeks of meat in the freezer, too many peas to count. The good old pea. Neil says pigeons are everywhere. If we can outsmart them, then we must be European. Good point. Oh God, here we go. Johnny Not Powell's posted. I know what to expect. Saw a homeless man eating a tin of baked beans, and I thought it was really sad. So I walked over to him and I said, "I think you're supposed to open that first." Thank you, Wolfie. That would really be appreciated. This is the kind of thing we really need to share. A lot of people haven't made anything for a very long time, or indeed ever. But if we can simplify this process and make it as easy as possible, I would like to hope that a lot of people would try these things. Even if you try and fail, you've tried, which is better than doing nothing at all. Cyborg has a quick question, Jordan. One of your 6 principles is security. Would you clarify what you mean? It has echoes of safety. I.e., we must remove some freedom for your own safety. No, definitely not. What do we mean by security? We mean being secure in and of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We mean choosing who we live with. We mean choosing the standards that we all abide by. That's what we're talking about, security. Security is not just about the physical security. Things like food security, knowing where things are coming from, knowing that you can protect what you have, knowing that you have choices. That's security. Being able to come together to defend yourselves from harm, that's security. Security, it covers so many things. But no, we are absolutely against sacrificing freedom for security.
It sits right next to freedom.
Yes. So, yeah, security is about us taking personal responsibility for our own security, not palming off freedom in exchange for it. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question because we've
Were
still
we
got
up
a few
to
to get
5
through.
or 6?
Well, 5 actually comes on to this. Do you have at least 3 months worth of edible goods? Most people seem to have this in place. If you haven't, keep going. You're almost there. Number 6 will be, in the event that you are prevented from accessing food via your local store, have you secured alternative providers of food? So that's not necessarily have you driven around and sourced direct food from farms, but have you found places that might deliver? Have you checked out maybe smaller stores, local stores? We're basically saying if your local supermarkets start enforcing certain rules, can you still get food from somewhere else? And have you made sure of that fact? Because that's important. It's important that you have a backup plan. because we're all about choices. And if your only option is one place and you do not provide another place to go to in an emergency, then you have restricted your own choices. Not yet, no, my stepdad's not mean. That's very honest. Thank you for being honest. I think for many of us, that's the answer. Again, this is not about
It
telling
certainly is
people,
for me.
shame on you. This is about saying, right, we haven't done that. We need to do it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
important.
certainly that way for me. I do not have the 3 months of food that I would like to have. I don't have 2 months either. I would say probably about a month, which is not really a comfortable position to be in, honestly. I certainly know it's better than a lot of people. I certainly know there's a hell of a lot of people who have done a damn sight a lot better than me.
That's really good, Hasdak.
That's what I like to see.
We have a small farm shop, he says. A small farm shop local who said they will not enforce the passport to buy food. That's really great. Really great to hear.
Do you know what I call that, Joe?
What do you call that, Jordan?
Normal people being normal.
Yes, isn't it nice? Nice to know there are still some normal people around. That's really rather amazing. Neil says, I've identified people who could be used as food. Okay.
Well, look, going straight to the issue there.
Yes.
That's what we mean by security.
Well, there you go. There's nothing more secure than that. Ian says, use family butchers and local stores good at getting stuff that you require. Yes. This is more than just about stock, of course. The mandates were mentioned just then. You need to be dealing with people who are normal, just like we are. Normal people going about their normal lives, who understand how incredibly evil it is to even contemplate restricting someone's access to food because they didn't obey you. That really is the issue here. So yes, you can check local farm shops. You can go down to your local farm. Yeah, we know you're joking, Neil. Don't worry. You can go down to your local farm if you are close to one, if you're lucky enough. Many people are not lucky enough to live in rural areas. And this is why this is so important. Because those people especially are going to feel the pinch if food is restricted or rationed or otherwise unavailable. Have a backup. Even if it's someone delivering to you, make sure you've got some of these places bookmarked. And I would also take physical note of their telephone number, just in case any other cuts happen, because you never know. Okay, last question for this evening is if you, there's two actually, but I will put them together. Have you been growing your own food? We know many of you have, and well done. You've done amazingly well this year. And if you have been growing your own food, have you saved, prepped, stored, and labelled your seeds for future planting and sharing? So it's two questions really there. We know the answer to the first one is probably yes for most of you, because you've been so great on the dig streams. So we know that you've been doing this. But saving your seeds is very important. Otherwise, it was all for nothing, really. Again, although you're producing food, it's a case of the golden goose, isn't it? The goose rather that lays the golden egg. You've got a chance to have an abundance of food constantly, or you can eat everything and just that's it. You grew it, you ate it, it's gone, it's done. The seeds are a way of keeping that going. And the beauty of seeds is that they will always expand. You buy one tomato seed, you grow a plant, you're going to get hundreds of seeds from that one plant. And the same applies to everything.
The real beauty of seeds are not only do you get the seeds if you've grown the plant yourself, but you also get the fruit. You get the thing that it made.
Yes, plus the seeds to make more of it.
Exactly.
So it's really important that you save the seeds. Seeds can be easily saved. In most cases, it's just a case of rinsing them, cleaning them, drying them, storing them. But do make sure you label them, because a lot of seeds are very similar. And again, this is another really good icebreaker for your neighbourhood. If you are of a mind to this Christmas, you could put a couple of seeds in an envelope with a Christmas card that are labelled and give them out to your neighbours. Oh, that's a real shame, Colonel Custard.
Yeah, I just read that.
Although I will say, I think if the goal is to stop us growing our own food, I think things like allotments will start to be unavailable in the future. But that's still a real shame. Well, you don't need land to grow things. My stepdad's not mean. I mean, I've grown 5 tomato plants in pots this year, and I've gotten hundreds of seeds from them. So, Grabler222, my favourite name, says planting perennials and some fruit and nut trees helps too. Yes, we will be introducing, I hope, with Jonathan's help, the dig streams again. Once we get back to sort of early next spring, maybe, I don't know. Jonathan is the person to ask. I suspect earlier than March, because we want to prep for planting. So hopefully we'll be back on that. Jordan has something he wants to share.
Thank you. I put it on the screen ages ago and you ignored it.
I wasn't ignoring it. I was looking at the chat, as always.
Whatever. Basically ignoring. This is something that Andrew wrote, and it fits in perfectly with the quiz this evening. This is a consumable items inventory. I've just posted a link in the chat, and I should actually put this up on Telegram as well. I'll do that after the stream. This is really, really, really helpful and really useful, and I would strongly recommend everybody go and download it. Even if you're not planning on doing something right now or within the next couple of weeks, whatever, downloading this will give you some ideas, some of the things that you might want, we might need, just stuff that you can overlook.
And again, we have no crystal ball. We talk a lot about the patterns we can see emerging and what they are leading up to. The reality is it can be turned off just like that. We just don't know. But I would rather prepare for something that doesn't happen than be unprepared for when it does. And it's really that simple. It's a really good mindset for us to have anyway. That we aren't simply victims of this thing, that we aren't simply reacting to it, that we are prepared for as many possibilities as we're able to be.
And as Andrew goes on to say, and this is what I think is really, really, really important, and something that a lot of people do when they start buying stuff in, they go absolutely nuts on something. Like, for example, Sticks always uses the example of people buying a load of canned food and then not buying a tin opener. This is what this sort of thing is really, really useful for. He says, blah, 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 but also but also so that you don't go overboard stockpiling on certain items and waste money that could be put to better use in other areas. There is no point in having 6 months worth of beans, for example, if you don't have anything to go along with them. There's no point in 6 months worth of rice if that's all you've got. We're not living in Japanese concentration camps. There's no reason just to eat 6 months of rice.
Yeah, when we talk about survival, we need to get past this mindset that we just exist. We're going to live through this, and we are going to live well if we prepare. You don't need to be on rations and on, like stale bread and water. That's not what this is about at all. We also don't want people to be afraid or panicky about this. The reality is, the only fear I feel about this is if it happens and I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
We have all the tools at our disposal to be ready, in which case there is nothing to worry about. So yeah, prepare for meals. Have normal meals with your family. Doesn't have to be a bowl of gruel every night. There's a couple of messages I'd like to bring up, actually, before we move on. So Jonathan, everyone knows that Jonathan has his real-life ward. It's doing amazingly well. It's a fantastic group of people. And in his ward, he has a seed bank and a seed circle.
Mm-hmm.
He's also working with lots of adjacent communities and others who come together under this sort of common theme, which is being prepared, self improvement and preparation, and using the time that they've got wisely. So if you consider in the overall community, this combined group of many, That's going to be an enormous amount of people exchanging seeds, which means that you don't even have to buy everything. If you just buy everything you use and you want to try something else, I guarantee someone else will already be using that seed, and it will be available as maybe a swap or something you can buy, maybe whatever your community situation is. But this is from Jonathan. This is so good. And just a reminder again, at some point these seeds are going to be forbidden. So if you haven't already started stocking up on seeds, and there are plenty of places you can get them, you can get a mix of seeds. You can sort of almost handpick a packet of seeds, and there's a few of these and a few of those and a few of those. Definitely worth doing. One last one I really want to cover from Grabler. You're just talking about people who don't live near farms or have space to grow food. You can still grow sprouts in the refrigerator, like bean sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, clover sprouts, etc. Yes, well said. So yes, if you want to do something and you're not sure how to do it, or you don't think you're able to do it, or you say, oh, I don't have the space, or I don't have this, please come and talk to us, because we will find a way. There's always a workaround. There is always a solution. It just might come from an unexpected place. Okay, I think that's enough of that. That was the last question. So we're going to do this every Friday. Not the quiz, by the way, although we will start adding to the quiz, I think, so it's quite a bit of fun. Be a bit more fun next time. This was the baseline. This is your baseline emergency prep. You should be thinking about these things anyway. And if some of you have answered no to these things, we'd really like to know over the next few weeks or months what changes you can make to better secure yourself. And we'd love you to share them with us, because you're not the only person who's unprepared. I was able to answer yes to some of those questions, but not all of them. So I think we all have quite a bit more work to do.
I've just posted the link to the food security section on the website.
Fantastic.
For further ideas.
So in that same vein, in order to make sure that we are prepared, because we care very much about this community, and we're hoping this mindset will spread elsewhere, we also wanted to very quickly set you a quest, a challenge for next Friday. What's the challenge, Jordan?
Do you want me to go onto the website?
I think you should.
Oh, I'll bring it up. Slowly. This is not anywhere near as fleshed out as we would like it to be just yet, but it'll get there.
It's kind of new, but yes, we'll keep improving it. Okay, so as you can see on our calendar section, which is always on the right-hand side.
I'll zoom out. There you go. That's where it is roughly. Can't miss it.
So we've got a storage schedule, as you can see. In fact, Jordan, I'll let you take over while I have a quick drink.
Oh, right. Lovely. Thank you. I'm allowed to speak now. Here we go. Basically, the way this is going to work, we've got... This will be refined. Don't worry about it. We've got a new thing on the calendar. What we would like people to do is buy just a couple of extra items, and we've tried to lay it out so that it's not that much of a strain, or it is as little of a strain as possible. And this is the start of it. We are starting with things like tin soup, and then tin foods, and like tin veggies and what have you, and expanding on from there. So this is next week. This seed saving. Although, to be fair, probably already done that.
Yes. Yeah, seed saving and seed buying. We wanted to start this on a straight month, but honestly, it doesn't matter if we start now. It really doesn't matter. We can refine it. So what was the first thing on the list for tinned foods? Because that's an important one.
Tin soup.
Right, so what do we think? If we set ourselves a challenge, and let's all do this together, like a buddy system, how about, for those of us who cannot make soup at home in any kind of bulk measure, who don't have a canning machine, just start stocking up on a few extra tins. Let's say, 2 or 3 tins of soup extra with your shopping. Doesn't have to be a brand name. It just has to be something you will definitely eat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all accept the challenge? And this message will self-destruct in 5. No, I'm joking. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. As a community, let's do this together. So let's come back next Friday and let's see if anyone remembered. And we will be reminding you. We'll be reminding you on the platforms to get your soup in. Okay, it can be anything you like. Anything you like. Doesn't matter. If you don't like soup, substitute it for something you do like. It doesn't matter. But if we all do this together like a buddy system, we're more inclined to be motivated to do it. We're more inclined to be reminded to do it. And we're all going to be better off for it. We're all going to be much, much safer in the future. So here we go. So there's the first one. Jordan is so proud of his picture, aren't you? So there's the first one. So soup, that is...
There you go. Anyone who doesn't engage with this is being judged severely by this man. This mustachioed caricature of a policeman.
Yes, this man is watching us. I don't know what Royco is, English Will.
Clue.
No, is it a brand? Yeah, custard works, Neil. It doesn't matter. Just something that you can buy in a tin. Like I said,
it needs to be proper food. I don't think custard works. No.
Well, you could eat custard as a meal, I suppose, if that's what you like.
You're not having bloody... Oh, what do you want for dinner today, love? Oh, I know, I'll have some custard.
But I wouldn't have 6 months worth of custard.
Food.
Yep, dried soup. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be food that will last. That's what we're going with here. Long life foods. Anything else in between is your personal choice, as always. Wasn't he the village people?
I'm going to be cheeky and I'm going to post a link to that article because I think it's a really good article and I think everyone would benefit from reading it. In no small part because I wrote it and I don't do writing very often, but I just like the article. I think it's a solid piece.
So English Will says Royco is soup in a cup. We call them cuppa soups, but yes. We can't unfortunately build up a soup supply to share amongst us all because we're not all in the same physical location. But again, this is something. Imagine if you are in the position in the future where you need help and you've got all this food stored, you may be able to help someone else out who's in a bit of a bind.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit of security for you. It goes without saying, don't flaunt this. If food does become really scarce, if food is rationed, if some people are completely cut off from food, you do not want to be advertising the fact that you've got lots of food stored. Anyway, right. Okay, so there's our challenge. So to pick up 2, 3, whatever you can afford, whatever's in your budget, some kind of soup for next week, and we'll see who was able to do it. Jordan and I are not absolving ourselves of this. We will have to take part 2. So we will exchange stories next Friday. Okay,
Indeed.
Is there anything else we wanted to cover?
No, that was all. But as I said, everybody go and read the wonderful article that I posted. And while you're at it, go and download this great thing that Andrew made. 10 out of 10. And also while you're there, check out the timeline because it's fun and interesting.
Yeah, so there's the website in case anyone doesn't know. Oh,
no, it's not. It's gone now.
I put it there and I took it off. There you go. Wardens.community, nice and easy. And just a reminder, if you can contribute an article or a video, if you're making something, if you saw something really interesting, doesn't have to be your own. We do need articles for the website, though. Again, things like these overviews, if you're making something, are fantastic. We'd also like your opinions. We are a community. We have opinions. We're not going to agree on every single thing. We'd really like to hear your takes on things that are going on in the world or your experience with growing something, or it doesn't matter. And as always, please remember to share this around. Hopefully, whichever groups you're in, if you share this, it will bring more people in. Our community will grow. The best thing about the community growing is that you are going to have more people taking part in this online community who live close to you. So there you go. That's our message. Share, 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 grow, 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 shop, shop, shop. No, we're joking. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Good luck with the soup hunt. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. We will see you next Friday, if not before.
Indeed. Bye for now.
Night, everyone.